Yes, I'm going to show you how with an Iron Man save game demonstration, and in fact this video is a bit of an AAR about my 100% literacy as Scotland campaign, but indeed 100% literacy is possible. Now, is it worth it? Honestly, no, but look, it was a fun challenge, and if you want to see how I did it, as well as my late game Scotland save, then stick around, and before we do pop into that, well, a like would be appreciated, and a subscription would be amazing, and if you are picking up EU5 or anything else in the Paradox store, well, please use code Lemon Cake as it does help support the channel, but enough self-shitting, let's get into the video proper. So I managed to achieve this goal in 1734 on the 1st of June. As you can see by this save here, it is an Iron Man save. It was started on version 1.0.0. It has been updated to version 1.0.4, but thankfully that's just Paradox small patches and updates. Everything has remained thankfully unnerfed, and also thankfully Iron Man compatible with no save breaking bugs as far as I could tell. So just letting you all know about that. But yeah, let's pop in. So yeah, here it is. It's the 1st of June as promised. It's 1734. The Age of Absolutism is almost coming to a close. Just one more age left. And if we take our advances, which has the literacy menu, or at least the average literacy menu, we have 100% average literacy. And one of the things I found out, and this is the reason I've lost 51,000 population, we'll talk about my population in a second, is that if you open outside of your country trade offices. So, for example, you build these overseas trading posts or trade offices that are going to employ POPs into your country, and those POPs are going to have a literacy based on the local population and modifiers like that, which means that their literacy will actually affect your total percentage literacy. So I've technically managed to get all my POPs in Scotland to 100 literacy like a couple months before, but then my average literacy was on like 99.8, and I wanted to call it there, but I thought, maybe those POPs employed in foreign trade offices counted, and they did. So I had to delete them, which is why I've technically lost 51,000 POPs, as I've just kind of, fired those people, and they stopped being Scottish the moment I did that. But yeah, there it is. It is 100% literacy, and again, for those curious, that does double your research progress, although in my case a bit more than that. Gives me 10% skill of new artist, and a whole 0.1 monthly progress to innovative. Well, Paradox, I definitely didn't need 100% innovativeness to, get plus 10 max literacy to actually get this modifier, but I guess it's neat. At this point, it's so late into the game, I've stopped taxing my peasants and my lords because it's not much point. May as well get them at 100% loyalty for the buffs. I mean, I guess I can be taxing the peasants at 16% without any adverse effect, but most of this time was spent on money cap anyway, which is 1 million, so really didn't mean too much to do that. Money, I think I'd solved in this campaign around 1650, and that was without much expansion. Now, if I was a bigger country and actually had an army I was using, I could have definitely used the money a lot more, but this was enough troops to fend off the English and have a navy. Look, 100 heavy ships is enough boats, right? Let's be clear. So that kind of meant that, yeah, I was good on money, didn't really need any more. And that was the state of my nation. Also, I did obviously deal with the Black Death, but this was a pop growth, I wouldn't say maxing campaign, but yeah, I've got 3.1 million pops, and this is population I grew myself. And this is going to be one of my cases to say that, yes, indeed, over the scope of the game, granaries are going to matter. You can see my pop growth getting almost exponential near the end there. It's still very slow, it's still quite hard, and it's still painful. You can see the dips from when I had to raise levies, for example. But yeah, it's a thing you can do in this game. Pop growth is a mechanic. Do use it. But yeah, how did I get 100% literacy everywhere? Now, one of the things I was thinking of doing as an emergency last stop second plan, dare I say, is making every single one of my rural locations into urban. So if you take a look at location ranks, if I upgrade every single one of those rural locations into a town or city, I'm then able to build a library within them. And libraries, well, when they're staffed, I had a bit of a population problem. I actually have a crippling population shortage in most of my nation. Well, when they're staffed, let's take a look at probably Edinburgh. No, Edinburgh's underpopped. What country has a fine? Glasgow has enough people. So if you take a look at the library in Glasgow over here, as you can see, it gets +5 max local literacy. So that could have been a source of extra local max literacy, which is quite nice. But the big part is it actually gives you +10%, or sorry, +0.1 local monthly literacy. Most rural locations actually have a relatively hard time ticking up with literacy, but what let me get there without having to basically 1836 this campaign is this literacy drive decision, which gave me global 0.1 monthly literacy, and that lets me tick up everywhere. Otherwise, I think I was going to actually finish ticking up to 100% literacy by around 1810 when I was working out, because I'm only getting 0.3 passively, and that's with 0.1 from a unique technology. But yeah, okay, let's take a look at my breakdown, and this will reveal the relative funny thing I've done here. So let's take a look at the peasants in Lanric here. They have 100% literacy, as you may guess. The breakdown, of course, coming from 10% intonationists, a translated Bible religious aspect, and Lollardy, and we'll get into that in a second, but of course, scientific revolution, This is a H5 technology printing press, H3 technology wrote an alphabet, thirst for knowledge, humanism, and universities of Scotland. I do believe both humanism and I believe thirst for knowledge that's 15% that you have to pick as age advances. So there's 15% if you go admin both times during age advances, as well as a bunch of extra laws and things you can pass for extra literacy. So that all happens. But the real reason that this run is possible is something that's frankly quite stupid and should probably be fixed. So if we take a look at our society again, that's what I meant to click. We are 100% Scottish here. We are, I've converted everyone. I had plenty of time to do that. All the Highlanders and all those people are gone. We're 100% Scottish. Take a look at our religion. We are Lollard, and we're 100% Lollardy. Now, why are we Lollard specifically? Lollard, if you switch into it, has some modifiers like monthly religious influence, some clergy power decrease, some peasant power increases, but more importantly, it gives you plus 10% max literacy. That's naturally quite good. Now, there are other religions that give you plus 10 max literacy, some give you plus 5. Those do exist, so why Lollardy? Well, Lollardy counts as a Reformation religion, and at the moment, all Reformation religions have access to the same pool of religious aspects. This means that, for the most part, if you're playing a Reformation religion, you play with these mechanics, and these get, changed based on the modifiers you get, and there are certain events and buildings that are unique to religions, sure, but for the most part, most Reformation religions, quote-unquote, use the same religious aspect mechanics, right? And one of those is translating the Bible for plus 10% max literacy. Yeah, I don't think you're meant to do this, but at the moment this basically means I get 20% max literacy for existing, which is good. This is good, as you may have guessed. Also, my states are a bit happier. There's some pretty neat stuff in these religious aspects. The tax efficiencies and monthly religious influence is great for getting more of those. Bank interest is nice. Income from minting is great, progress to capital economy. There's the list of possible options. Some of them are pretty neat. Another one that I was taking a look at is appointment of bishops for minus 5% proximity cost. That's pretty neat. There's also a minus 2 expected cost of court. That's quite cool. I think individual creeds is quite strong as well. That monthly rebel growth could be very overpowered in a blobbing campaign, but it's again just another thing to mention. And for the MP enjoyers, there's war ceremonies for army morale recovery speed and some belligerence progress. It isn't great, but I guess it exists. Yep, this is a pretty integral part of how I was able to actually achieve this. This is why I needed to play Scotland, or at least someone in England, so at least I had access towards the Lollardy faith, because they tend to pop up and get crushed pretty quickly by the English. However, I still wanted to tech, and one of the things you'll notice is the power of the liturgical language is 0.17. That's because I've changed my liturgical language back to Latin. And that is very cursed if you know anything about the Lollard faith. In fact, that is very cursed for a Lollard faith that not only preaches you about, reading the Bible yourself, but also translates the Bible, only then to enforce the liturgical faith as Latin yet again. Indeed, I would go so far as to say that the reason we're so rich is that we've actually got a source of infinite power that we can use to kickstart our economy and our industrial revolution. All we had to do was connect John Wycliffe's grave to a generator, and that was it. The existence of this nation was enough to power all of our industrial demands. And those industrial demands were not trivial. After all, we were the birthplace of the printing press, and also the birthplace of the scientific revolution. And over here in Glasgow, we are also the birthplace of manufacturers. See, we already are at the forefront of society. And yep, very green, very nice literacy map mode. If we do zoom out, there are some other green spots, some very red spots as well. But yeah, absolutely winning the literacy game, especially considering the fact that we don't have urban provinces everywhere. Because if we take a look at something like this, which has very high literacy, and then if we take a look at their actual location ranks, it's all town and city, so basically all these places, if I were to wager a guess, have libraries. Yep, there you go, which obviously helps inflate their literacy by an extra 5%. But yeah, that's pretty much the campaign. I mean, despite tech maxing, I will have to say I've still not researched a lot of technologies. I kind of like this system where really, even if you are min-maxing research progress to the point of absurdity, you still don't really have time to research everything. And I do wonder, because with Scotland in the Age of Revolutions, I have this incredibly broken advance, the Scottish Enlightenment for 20% research progress. I want to see how much my tech would go up. I just wonder if I can hit 4, as well as a monthly literacy 0.02. This was going to be my Hail Mary if I couldn't get everyone to 100% literacy by the end, but I don't need Sunday schools, turns out. And yeah, that was going to be the play here, to see if I can actually finish every single tech in the game. Working on it, kind of, but yeah, easier said than done. Look, there's a lot, and 3.58 lit tech speed is absolutely obscene, don't get me wrong. I even have exchange of ideas going here for some extra tech speed. I didn't actually need the innovative when I got to this. I got to 100% innovative early, but look, I'm trying to squeeze out as much research speed as I can. I've been keeping my clergy very loyal, which, I mean, I think I've got all my states on 100% loyalty at the moment. This is my estate breakdown for those curious. I've got a very much empowered crown and also very empowered estates, and it's a weird balance, but basically everyone is winning at the moment. Look, all the crown power percentages you gain from technologies and houses of parliament and supreme courts and royal courts and all those, they're very strong, okay? And as for the control of the nation, I think I have pretty decent control. That is because I've gone for 100% naval, and if you look at my proximity, I've got pretty decent proximity. Nothing like minus 100% proximity cost reductions or anything stupid, but my 100% naval control is nice, right? I'm getting it to most places. I think the Isle of Man is my furthest away location and probably my lowest control at 82%. So yeah, pretty neat. Quite centralized society if I say so myself. And certainly a demonstration of just how much stronger it would be if I had at least Britain to work with, right? Personally, I think I will continue this campaign. I'm just kind of interested to see if I can actually get every single tech finished. I don't know if it'll be possible, but it's a challenge, and if there's any country that can go for 100% techs finished, it's going to be something like Scotland with that 20% research speed bonus from technologies, right? I mean, it's quite good, right? It's quite good. But we'll see. We'll see. I also think it'd be cool to get the 1836 achievement out of the way because this is Iron Man. So yeah, just letting you know it's Iron Man, right? Otherwise, yeah, it was a pretty fun campaign. Had to fight a bunch of wars with England. That did hurt my manpower and my general pop growth because it's very levy reliant a lot of the time. And I did micro this nation, micro its economic build down, and micro its economic scaling, which is why most of this campaign was actually played on speed 3. It's going to sound very unhinged, but look, that's just how I play video games, right? And I guess the last thing I want to show off very quickly is my values. I did manage to get 100% centralization. I am 100% innovativist, that was kind of required. And I did go humanist because, I mean, I guess as part of the roleplay, I did a decent bit of internal LARP during this campaign. 100% aristocracy, 50% free subjects, some mercantilism. This I didn't really care about because by this point I had quote-unquote won the 100% literacy challenge. I was just waiting for it to take up, so this slide I kind of ignored. I was trying to get towards conservatory, but my parliament kept demanding me belligerence progress. I didn't care about the efficiency of cabinet 10% enough to not go down that route. Quality and quantity was a weird one. I think I just had enough troops to beat back the English, and they didn't invade that many times, so I didn't really have to focus about my army, but that was a thing. I was trying to focus on defensive. I very much focused on naval. I was trying to focus on capital economy, almost finished that. Was trying to focus on individuals and failed. And I am working on inward, but easier said than done. And I did go through court and country, and I went liberalism, so that's neat. Now, how this country as a whole is liberalized, I don't know. Someone good at political science can tell me how a society where the state has almost, I think like 95% probably average control over the population can also be 83% liberal, while also at the same time being an individualistic capital economy. Like, this whole thing is just full of self-contradictions. But thankfully, as the state itself, I don't have to worry about it. First of all, the crown itself, I've passed a figurehead position for the crown. And this is quite a nice law. It does decrease crown power by 20%, but you have a lot of other bonuses towards it. And oh no, the burghers and nobility are happier with you, right? That's kind of why I did it. I wanted that nobility estate satisfaction. And I had enough crown power, so I wasn't bothering with cabinet micro on my part. I mean, my cabinet was done doing things. So take a look at my cabinet, it's developing provinces. And I did get Edinburgh to 100 development. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, other places are pretty devved, but like 62, 74, 81, 63. Nothing insane. Definitely not bad, but nothing insane. But you can also very much clearly see the crippling lack of population I have to keep this country going. Like, despite all this pop growth, if I had like 4 times as many people, I would be doing a lot better, I feel. I would actually be able to work a lot of these jobs. But yeah, this was quite a rambly video. I hope you enjoyed nevertheless. I think I've gone over everything important. If you have any questions, please do let me know. And if anyone is a political scientist or anything of that nature, here are my social values again. And indeed, for those curious, I'm going to just quickly go through all of my laws. I'll let you feel free to pause, take a look at them yourself. I guess my question is how would you describe a Confederate Union centralized bureaucracy with direct inheritance of Scottish clan holdings, Homeland Security Intelligence Agency using the 2 treaties of government, an itinerary court with Scottish civil law, with open borders, a civil society, lock and proviso, education of the people, a common language for the court language, because France keeps making us speak French in court, very annoying, a free press, and a ban on colonial ventures, and burgher-controlled mining operations. And in Uganda, we've favoured the ruler, but also have a ceremonial ruler, curtail the burghers, strengthen the clergy, have a figurehead position for the crowd, and have a rural authority for the nobility. Again, complete mess, but my question to you is, how would you describe this society? Considering we are a Shires of Scotland, admiralty regime with a harbor administration, mandatory bureaucratic education, exchange of ideas, administration of shipyards, government. Like, what is this? Political science majors, this is your time to shine. Right, though, with that said, that is unfortunately all the time I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, but a special thank you to all my channel members, especially Ark, Solar, Solemon, Ozendika, Nikas, Manhattan, Star72, The Awesome Rabbit, Best for Gaming, Grandmove Flavia, Lebarule, W Haste, Sov, Anthony35, AC Napa, Conspiracy Pizza, Yukata, Dan Ray, Marvy, Jack, Ryland, Stuart Allen, Andrew Black, Nebula, Zentronic, Toynet, and Aquabird.